Is the footballing world overreacting, or as my producer just said to me, should we just pack up and go home and end the Premier League season right now? Because I think I saw it was Blow It Sunday. I saw was a phrase used. Liverpool losing, Arsenal losing straight off the back of that. And just a broad feeling that, oh no, it's happening again in the sense of, oh, well, Man City are just a little bit too much. How do you feel about that as a statement?
I think the story actually is not that Man City are too much. I think the other two are just not good enough. I don't think Man City have been perfect. I think City fans have said that as well. They've conceded goals more than ever before. De Bruyne has been injured. Haaland's been injured. This was the season, in my opinion, for Arsenal to go and grab it and get themselves way ahead. But that's what happened. And we're back here again, looking at boring old Man City. So De Zerbi,
stop winning.
All these gaffers, give me something. We need something.
Okay, if we take a step back. Well, see what they need to. The problem is, Man City are living in Liverpool fans, Arsenal fans, heads rent free. Understandably so. There is there is history. I get it, but the truth is, between now and the next time Man City play, Arsenal and Liverpool have football matches to be played in the Premier League. And if they both win their games, where are they? They're both above Man City. You feeling better?
No. Because I look at the fixtures. The fixtures are the context that needs to be added there.
When you go back to what you said about Liverpool not being good enough, and Arsenal not being good enough, are you saying that again compared to Man City? Or are they not good enough to be a title-winning team?
I think Liverpool this season were relying on the other teams falling off, and which is why I said previously that Liverpool dropping points against Palace was a disaster because they needed to hold on for as long as possible. Because if you held on and something happened somewhere else, that's how you were going to win it. It wasn't a case that Liverpool were going to blow every team away and win the league. As for Arsenal, I think Arsenal still have some similar problems to last season. And earlier this season, if you think about the start of the season, we've been sat here many times, we said, they don't create chances. They're not quite right. And those 7 or 8 games in the Premier League where they blew Sheffield United away, West Ham and
Crystal Palace were in there. I think Burnley were in there as well.
Those teams weren't playing well.
Beat Liverpool, didn't they? In the run
and I think, I'll do the maths properly, but that was around 40% of the goals they've scored this entire season. So take Man City out of the context, out of the conversation. Those two aren't.
But
there.
I think there's what's the reality here and what's what we expect, right? And again, I get why we expect what we expect when it comes to Man City. We expect them to be perfect because every year they generally are. But we thought Liverpool would beat Crystal Palace. We thought Arsenal would beat an Aston Villa side that had a few players out. It's a game of football.
But this is Pep's league. This is certain things where Liverpool, if City had lost to Palace 1-0, which happened a few years ago when Liverpool won the league, Andros Townsend scored that screamer, you go, whoa, that's not meant to happen. It doesn't happen at the Etihad. When it happens to Liverpool, people are going, this keeps happening when City are chasing. That's why I think the feeling is there.
And so we're agreeing, really. I think that's the problem.
I'm just upset, James. All right, I'm upset.
But you can feel Man City. I don't think Man City are feeling anyone else. They're going, well, we're Man City. We do what we do. We're treble winners. This is where we come alive. And you focus on what you do. Or that's the mentality right now. That can change in 20 minutes. If they lose their next game, which is Brighton, who have been up and down. I appreciate that, but they've also not got European football anymore, and are an exciting team that have caused Man City problems in the past. And again, come back to the reality of this. I think let's go through it. Man City. They beat Luton at home. And I have so much respect for Luton. But Luton have so many first teamers out, and they're going to play at the Etihad. Now, again, every time we're talking here, we keep coming back to the sort of invincibility of Man City, like them at home and how impressive they are. But that game, it was, there were some great goals in that game. And I think what Man City have over these two, for me, is a mindset that they're excited to go and win games. And also the other thing that they have, when often we hear things about control the controllables, Man City control football matches, especially at home. And so that inevitability, when you have that inevitability, and come back to what you're saying about Arsenal, in those games that they won against lesser opposition, when you score early, you go, well, yeah. And when you're playing an opposition that you're better than, again, it's like, well, yeah, of course we're going to win. But then the thing that wasn't on them at that moment was pressure, really, because no one was really giving Arsenal a chance, and you're playing weaker opposition. We're now at that time of the season where every game absolutely matters. But the thing I think that is hurting, is really pulling into focus, in my opinion, is the control that Man City have in their games, and there's just a calmness there.
They just won't throw it. And you said this, I think, a couple of weeks ago. Arsenal don't ever want to be top, because the moment they'll go top...
I think that's you, mate.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
And then as soon as someone's hunting them, especially Man City, that's pressure. And I probably said that from a Liverpool standpoint, that when City are around, like you said, they don't feel the knock on the door from everyone else. Yeah. But Arsenal feel it from everyone, and Liverpool feel it from everyone. And when I look at the fixtures, I know you said like Brighton away will be tricky. For me, it's Forest away and Tottenham away. But it also relies on...
It's the away games for you, isn't it? You think?
I think at home they are literally invincible. And I would have said that about Liverpool a couple of weeks ago, but that's obviously changed. But then I look at the other two again, and as I've said all season, City aren't quite right, but they're more right than the other two. And then the fixtures come into it.
Yeah. And again, I keep coming back to this, because again, we're projecting this idea that you've got to be perfect. And that sort of emanates to absolutely everyone. So the solution here, and it's easier said than done, is to literally stop looking at the table. Like, I did a video on my channel today, and I used a clip from Scotty Scheffler, who just won the Masters. Yeah. And they're saying, how do you feel about it all? And he says, you know what I'm about to say? He says, when I go in, if I've prepared as well as I can, I don't need to look at the scoreboard. I'm just going to do the best I can do. This is all easier said than done. And this, I think, again, this is where the fans play a really big part in this game, is I think the Man City fans in that ground, especially at home games, they go, it'll be fine. If they concede a goal, even if they concede a goal in 20 minutes, it's probably only by 80 minutes you're thinking, and we've seen this with the great teams, but I think the thing that will hurt them as much as anything else is everything around it, aside from the reality. And the reality this weekend is Man City beat Luton at home, but they went first. And Liverpool should have won that game against Palace. They had a lot of chances, but it didn't go for them. And Arsenal, I think Arsenal, for me, is a bit more of a concern because, okay, it's a hard opposition in Aston Villa, absolutely, and you've got Ollie Watkins who's on fire. But, again, they could have seen the game against Liverpool. They could have seen Liverpool losing as wow, we've got an opportunity here. Or they could have ignored it. But what happened is the first half, they were like, oh, we've got an opportunity here. But it was still 0-0 at half-time. Go and look at the momentum bar from that game. From half-time, the crowd and therefore the players, it crept into their minds. And that is something that I was hoping that these guys were going to get past and can still get past. But you would imagine that will be such a huge factor in all of this.
It's just too emotional. And Arsenal fans are going to hate me saying that, but I'm saying that from Liverpool's standpoint as well. Liverpool were desperate.
I think that's more... It's a different kind of emotion. I think for Liverpool, before it was fuel when it's November and we know Klopp's leaving, but we're not at the finish line. Oh, wouldn't it be great if we weren't to win it? Now I think there's something there where they're so desperate to win it for him.
Yeah, yeah.
And I appreciate that.
I think for Arsenal...
they're scared to bottle it again.
Yeah, and the player I looked at in that game,
it's normal.
Like, it's normal, yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing here is like, it was inevitable at the start of this weekend that Man City had a good chance of going first because they're the easiest opposition and they were at home where they're invincible.
Yeah.
But I think when I look at Arsenal, I go, Odegaard's the guy that I looked at. First half, he was unbelievable. Second half, he vanished. Right. That, for me, spoke to me in the sense of like, that's Arsenal. That's your main guy. And I'm not outing him. He's been unbelievable all season. But that's your main guy. And in the second half, when it wasn't quite going anywhere and the pendulum was slowly shifting back and forth, it was Yuri Tielemans, who's been a rotation player for Villa this season, going, I'll take this game by the scruff of the neck. That's a worry for me. And that's why I've said all season, it's Man City, it's Guardiola, they'll win it.
Yeah, I think the thing I keep focusing on is everything will keep being the same if everyone keeps thinking the same. Yeah, yeah. So it's down to those two groups of players to shut out all that. And there's a sports psychologist called Dan Abrahams. He's brilliant. And he was talking about in a game there's two states, or in sport there's two states. There's effortful and effortless. And when it's effortless, it's easy. Everything's flowing, everything's fine. And so you don't really need to worry about that too much. When it's effortful, when things like that run feels difficult, seeing the pass feels difficult, which anyone who's played the game, that you have those moments, right? That's where, and I'm sure they are all doing this. They're not going, "Oh, Jim, what's Jim saying?"
Yeah.
But like, they've all got sports psychologists focusing on all of this. But these are the challenges. When it's not feeling right, how do you solve it? How do you get over the line? And that's why I think this week is absolutely enormous for both of them, because you wash away that and you kind of revive yourself a little bit and you go back to the top of the table if you win your next game in the Premier League. But if they don't, it's a problem.